Hello friends. So today we are going to discuss the concepts called the lifecycle of servlet and common gateway interface and servlet and disadvantages of servlet and CGI. Okay. Previous video I designed I created for what is a servlet and what are the different advantages servlet and if you use servlet what can able to develop like that. So now let's see what is the life cycle of a servlet. Okay. So life cycle of a servlet can be defined as an entire process from its creation till the destruction. So the following paths are followed by the servlet, which it has some methods or some stages which it starts and which it will ends okay, first method is like init method, that is initializing thing, that is servlet is loaded and then it will initializes the method and it calls initialization method and it loads the file and then it executes service method to process the client request. So service method will, again which it has two methods, that is do get and do post methods, and finally destroy method. So now let's see here, first load, it loads a servlet class and then the servlet is initialized by calling the init method, and then the servlet calls service method to process a client request, which it has two methods again, that is do get and do post methods. Do get method which will have HTTP get method which it gets the values from the database or from the client base, and another one do post method which it also displays values in a page itself, and finally the servlet is terminated by calling a destroy method which it terminates the database connection or the clean up the activities whatever the earlier which it is happened. So finally the servlet is garbage collected by the garbage collector of Java virtual machine. So here if you observe means the servlet, if the servlet is started, then web server will generate a new thread for each and every request coming from the client side part, and here the Java virtual machine will execute the servlet program which it loads first init method and then service method, and then it checks for a destroy method. For each and every request, the servlet container will create one thread for A, or and if client is requesting another thread, it creates a thread B like that. If the client is requesting for third one, then third request, and then it creates a thread C. For both three threads, it will has the service method which it has do get and do post methods. So let's see the life cycle of a servlet in a different way. First one here which it has start position, black circle indicates start position, and which it non-black circle which it indicates destroy method. So from starting to ending, which it is called the life cycle of a servlet. First here init method will have first it initializes the code, and before that it loads servlet class and then it creates servlet instance and it calls the init method, and if it is okay then it calls for a service method. Then if it is ready, it checks for do get and do post method by passing the parameters like servlet request, servlet response like that, and then finally if it is everything is okay, then it calls the destroy method to terminate entire databases or entire process. Okay, let's see in depth information about what is called init method and what is service method, do get, do post, destroy methods. Let us discuss the lifecycle methods in detail. Like here first one is init method. Here it is called only once, and it is called only when the servlet is created and not called for any user request like afterwards. So it is used for a one time initialization only. So just as with the init method of applets like that. The servlet is normally created when a user first invokes a URL corresponding to the servlet. So but you can also specify that servlet can be loaded when the server is first started. Okay, and when the user invokes a servlet, a single instance of each servlet gets created. With each user request, it resulting in new thread. Yes, in architecture itself we observe, right? So for each and every user request, it creates a new thread that is handed off to do get or do post as appropriate. So the init method simply creates or loads some data that will be used throughout the life cycle of the servlet. Okay, the init method definition looks like the following. So which it has public void init, throws servlet exception, and then initialization code there you have to write. And coming to second method, that is called service method, which it is a main method in the entire life cycle of a servlet to perform the actual task. Here the servlet container, or that is a web server, calls the service method to handle the request coming from the client, and it will write the formatted response back to the client. Okay, for each time the server response receives a request for the servlet, the server spans a new thread and calls a service method. The service method checks the HTTP request type, like which it has get method, post method, delete method, like that, and calls do get and do post, or etc., like whatever the different methods are there. And here the signature of this method is called, like a service method is called by container, and service method invokes do get and do post. Like it has, the service method will have two parameters called as servlet request, and another one is servlet response. Two classes are there. For each two different classes will have two different objects. For servlet request will have request object. For servlet response will have response object, which it throws servlet exception, IO exception, input output exception, like that. Okay, here the do get and do post methods are most frequently used methods with each service request. So depending on the what type of request you receive from the client, based on that you override either do get or do post. Okay, and here let's see do get method. The get request results from the normal request for a URL or for a form, an HTML form that has no method specified, and it should be handled by a do get method. A do get method here will have like two different classes, like HTTP servlet request and HTTP servlet response. For each two different classes will have two different objects, like that. So here before service method will have one parameter called, or one class called servlet request, and at the same time servlet response. But whereas do get and do post will add one more word, that is called HTTP. Why? Because the service method will offers two different methods, right, which it is handles the HTTP format. So or from HTML form that has no method specified, so it handled by do get method, like, or do post method. Okay, the post method results like from an HTML form that specifically list post as a method and should be handled by do post method. So here that is related, both are related to same, but whatever the activities which it is performed based on the client request it will do. So remember, we'll have the same parameters in do get and do post. And let's see destroy method, which it is called only once at the end of the life cycle of a servlet. This method gives you a servlet a chance to close database connections if you open earlier, and it stops background threads and write cookies list or hit count to the disk, and perform other such cleanup activities. Whatever the actions are going on, after completing that it will clean up all the activities. So after destroy method is called, the servlet object is marked for garbage collection. So the destroy method definition look like this, and here public void destroy, which it is destroys all the whatever the activities that is created. Okay, let's see what is meant by CGI, common gateway interface, like here which it is first program before servlet the CGI is started. Okay, what the CGI here, it is used for provide dynamic content to the user, and it is used to execute the program that resides in the server to process data or access databases to produce a relevant dynamic content. Okay, and a program that resides in a server can be written in a native operating system such as C++. Okay, here the CGI main concept is simple thing. For each and every request, it will creates a different process for that. So this is not a thread based here, this is a process based. So the main major burden on the server will be there. So And here for each and every second request a second process will be created. For each third request it will create third process, like that. For each and every request it will create different process. So this takes a long time to process the program. And for if the number of requests from the client increases, then more time it will take to respond each request. Okay, so for each request the CGI server receives and it creates new operating system process. And here there's a programs executed by CGI script or written in C language or Perl script, C++, which are a platform independent. Let's see servlet in the case like CGI programs are used to execute programs written inside a native language, but in servlet all the programs are compiled into a Java bytecode which it is then run in the Java virtual machine. So for each and every request here it generates threads like that. For each second request it will create second thread like that. For those different threads will be maintained by Java virtual machine thread. And here the servlet engine will take care of all the servlet activities based on the request. Okay, in servlets all the requests coming from the client or processor with the threads instead of OS processes. So this is a major advantages of servlet. And what are the different problems of a servlet? So for each and every programming language there have some problems. So as in the case of CGI we observed. And now let's see the disadvantages of servlet. That is one servlet is loaded into a Java virtual machine. It doesn't matter number of requests. So when there is a request there is a thread, like not a process here. So for a servlet is persistent, like until it destroys. It means like if activities is continuously running up to if it is not calling destroy method, it will stay live. Otherwise, if it calls destroy method, then the servlet program will be deleted. So here the designing of a servlet is very difficult and it slows down the application. Like definitely for this servlet program execution we need Java runtime environment on the server, then only it runs servlet programs. For non-Java developers it is difficult to execute or design servlet program. Why? Because they required broad knowledge on the Java servlet. And one more thing here, if it is mixed up with Java HTML code is mixed up with the Java code, therefore here the changes done in one code it can affect for another code also. And it is very difficult, that's writing HTML code in servlet program is very difficult. And developers must take care of exception handling because servlet program is not thread safe by default. So those are all called different disadvantages of servlet. And finally we will summarize what's the comparison of servlet versus CGI, common gateway interface. Okay, mainly here servlet does not run in a separate process. A servlet stays in a memory between the requests, and here a CGI program needs to be loaded and started for each CGI request. And one more thing here, there is only a single instance of servlet which answers all the requests concurrently. So those are all called different advantages. We already observed the advantages of servlet, and the main summary of servlets is mainly created for web applications, and it is robust and scalable and platform independent. Okay, and the performance is significantly better than CGI. So servlets execute within address space of a web server, so it is not necessary to create a separate process to handle each client request. So servlets are very secure. So this is the difference between servlet and CGI. Thank you for watching.